stronger than anyone I know. She shares my dreams. I hope that someday I'll share her home. I found a love to carry more than just my secrets, to carry love, to carry children of our own. We are still kids, but we're so in love, fighting against all odds. I know we'll be alright this time. Darling, just hold my hand, be my girl, I'll be your man. I see my future in your eyes, baby. I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When I saw you in that dress, looking so beautiful, I don't deserve this. Darling, you look perfect tonight. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see. Now I know I have met an angel in person, and she looks perfect. I don't deserve it. You look perfect tonight.
Spent 24 hours, I need more hours with you. You spent the weekend getting even, ooh. We spent the late nights making things right between us. Yeah, now it's all good, babe. Roll that backward, babe, and play me close. Cause girls like you run round guys like me. Sundown when I come through, I need a girl like you. And girls like you love fun, yeah, me too. I want when I come through, I need a girl like you, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need a girl like you, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need a girl like you, yeah. I spent the last night on the last flight to you. Ooh, ooh. Took a whole day up, trying to get way up. Ooh, we spent the day alive, trying to make things right between us. But now it's all good, babe. Roll that backward, babe, and play me close. Yeah, it's girls like you run around guys like me. Sundown when I come through, I need a girl like you. And girls like you love fun, and yeah, me too. I want when I come through, I need a girl like you, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need a girl like you, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need a girl like you. Maybe it's 6:45. Maybe I'm barely alive. Maybe you've taken my shit for the last.
Hi, very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our lunchtime webinar organized by the Marketing Institute of Singapore. and a very good afternoon to all of you. It's good to actually see a lot of our old friends right now. So I'm looking at all the attendants. So we do have attendants from quite a few countries, in fact, for today. All right, so welcome and welcome to join us again today. Um, now, today we will also be having our Zoom sessions being presented on our Facebook Live. So for all of you out there, uh, do try to actually log on to our Facebook after this sessions itself. All right. And for those that you do have friends that are not in the Zoom sessions, you can always ask them to join the Marketing Institute of Singapore Facebook Live. Okay. Now, well, 7 days have passed, and this is our 7th day, in fact, for our MIS webinar itself. I should say that, during this period of time, we received very, very positive feedback from all of you. And thanks for the encouragement. We will certainly we will do this, we will continue to do this, in fact, to keep you company during lunchtime, right, even after the 4th of May, and we're looking at extending to the end of the month, right up to the 1st of June. So do look out for our posters or our informations on our website and on our Facebook for the rest of the speakers that will be coming on board. I hope over the past 6 days or 7 days that you do enjoy your time with us. Okay. Now, if you're to know about MIS, in fact, from time to time, I'm being posted the questions on what is MIS, the Marketing Institute of Singapore. And in fact, most of them know, they probably heard about MIS as being a school, okay, as being an institution that offers diploma, graduate diploma, or advanced diploma in the area of sales and marketing. Now, quite frankly, we're not just that. MIS, we are also an association that represents the marketeers and the sales professionals in Singapore itself. So you are welcome to join us. If you whatever things your occupations or your job has got something to do with marketing or sales, do find out more about how you can be our members. All right, we always welcome you to actually join us as our associate member. Now, for those who are not in Singapore, you can also join us as our international associate members. Okay, do find out more about how you can actually benefit from being a members. So we do have webinars, we do have guru sessions, and of course we do have a good discount for those who are our members to our executive development training courses. Okay, so MIS, we have been doing executive courses for the past 20 over years. Okay, and under our belt we have more than 120 executive training courses, and of course all this, it's actually the well, I would say the trainers itself, the quality of trainers has actually put MIS to what we are today. All right, so today, of course, we will have yet another trainer coming on board. He's none other than Professor Sattar Bawany, which I'll tell you more. Okay, um, and of course, being an association, we also have our corporate social responsibility. Now, I think I've mentioned over the past few days that MIS, we are actually doing a mass donation drive for our neighboring countries. So we're looking at our ASEAN countries. In fact, if you were to visit, now we can't fly, so probably from various news channels, you'll be able to hear or to see that our neighboring countries such as Philippines, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, including Malaysia itself. Now, there is a shortage in terms of masks itself, the very basic thing to protect them from COVID-19. So here we are. I think, like what I've mentioned, our government is really doing a great job, right, to ensure that all of us are given sufficient masks to protect ourselves. But I couldn't say more for our neighboring countries, like those in Philippines itself. So we are doing our part in actually wanting to help our neighboring countries. So therefore, this initiative is actually initiated by the Marketing Institute of Singapore, together with our counterpart from the Philippines, which is the Philippine Marketing Association, um, that we will collect the masks from Singapore and to be sent to Philippines. All right, so that they are able to distribute to the needies, those that really need the mask to protect themselves to right through this COVID. period. Okay, so hopefully we will be able to see more support. Now, do look out more on how you can actually help us in terms of this mass donation on our website and on our Facebook. So please log on to our Facebook after this. All right. Now, today it's a very special webinar sessions, I would say. Um, as you can see, I'm a bit nervous today. Now, reason being is because of the speakers that's coming on board. Now, I actually know new Professor Sattar Bawany for more than 20 over years, coming to 30 years, in fact. He's actually my very first professor that actually my very first lecture in marketing itself. And remember those days, if not because of him, that I won't be here today, right? And he really inspired me to take up marketing as a profession. So therefore, today we're certainly very honored and very glad that Professor Sattar Bawany is able to join us. And he, of course, is also one of our very accomplished trainer. All right. Well, let me perhaps do an intro on Prof itself. Now, Professor Sattar has over 30 years of international business management experience, including 15 years in executive coaching, group facilitation, and leadership development and training with global management consulting firms. Okay. Now, besides focusing on executive coaching, leadership development, customer service excellence, and sales force effectiveness, Professor Sattar is also an accomplished author. All right. So, therefore, I think enough from me. I think you probably would want to see him right now or want to hear from him. Now, today, Professor Sattar will be touching on something that is very relevant uh, in our situation right now. All right. And that is crisis. All right. We're all facing crisis right now from something that we've not seen before, and it's something that's very unique. Uh, a lot of uncertainties right now. So his topic will be on leading during times of crisis. Now, as you know, crisis during crisis such as the COVID-19, there are a lot of uncertainty. You know that you will be able to keep your job or your business running. Okay, so as a leader itself, I think we are all faced with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of pressure in terms of wanting to bring our business continuity in terms of our business itself, and at the same time to motivate our staff. Okay, so I hope after today's sessions that you'll be able to bring back some points that you can, in fact, benefit your organizations. Now, without further ado, let's invite Sattar to the room right now. Okay, please help me to give a round of applause to Professor Sattar Bawany. Hi, Prof. Hi, Prof. Great to see you again. Okay, Prof. Today, I think really on behalf of MIS, I really want to thank you for your valuable time. I know you are a very busy person, and you do travel a lot. In fact, globally, even around the region itself, to train top management in terms of leadership. And I believe today our attendees here or our viewers here will be able to learn a lot more from you. So we're all certainly looking forward towards hearing from you on how we can lead our group or the business during this time of crisis. So please take it on, Prof.
Thank you, Roger. First of all, thank you to the Marketing Institute of Singapore, MIS, for inviting me. I've been a long-standing member for a very long time, since 1979, member of MIS, and I'm really, it's a privilege, Roger, and thanks to you and your team for inviting me to be a part of the MI's lunchtime webinar. I think I commend you and your organization for doing this. I think it's very important during times like this when all of us are working from home and observing social distancing regulations and requirements, and which is being imposed on us by each government in each country. I think we should take advantage of times like this to continue to self-develop and develop what we call the growth mindset. So the topic today, I've been asked to look at, during time of crisis, and I will be talking a little bit about what is crisis. What do you mean by crisis? Because there are typically major crises, and there are some normal crises, and I will talk about both. And I will focus, of course, COVID-19, which is what we are facing right now, which is one of the, as you all know, every day we open television, we read the papers online, continuously we're bombarded with news about COVID-19. And I've been, since January this year, been researching on COVID-19 because coincidentally, I was writing a book, my new book on leading during disruptive times. And at that time, I was focusing in January more on the digital transformation, how it's going to impact the fourth industrial revolution, going to impact the workplace, jobs, and how leaders need to lead the team differently in those times and these more disruptive times. And with COVID-19 coming to the picture, so my publisher in New York, Business Expert Press, says that why not include, and the chairman of the company said, include the topic, couple of chapters on COVID-19. So, and I've been reading a lot since February, I think 1st of February until now, and I'll share some of my findings. It's a lot of things are not so, if I may use, not so pleasant. There's a lot of bad news, and I think it's important for us to take things in perspective and to reflect and ask ourselves, what do we need to do as the COVID-19 will go away? The question is, before it goes away, it's going to destroy, it's going to impact, it's already impacted so many lives and going to become much more impactful in the months to come probably until next year. So question is, what do we do? How do we prepare our team, ourselves for the rebound? And that's what I'm going to talk about. So what I'd like you to do now, just think about the word crisis. What would be one word that you would use to perhaps identify with the word crisis? So if you could just put into your chat box, there's a chat box there. So if you can just put into your chat box, so that we can look at what are some of the response. Amos, I'm not sure. Let me see whether I'm trying to. Okay, now I got some of the response. Kelvin says is opportunity. Tommy Arthur, hi Tommy from Jakarta, says opportunity, and Seth says fear. Quite a number of people said fear, opportunity, and quite a number says growth. Oops, sorry. Unprecedented challenges. Pain. Well, I love Dave Pua says, associated with pain, and I think there's one description or adjective that I've been hearing from a lot of people, from friends, family. I think that's true. I think the common, I'm glad to see a lot of people talk about opportunities, because this is exactly, we need to view it from their perspective. So thank you for those of you who have responded. So more and more coming in. Fear, more fear, and negativity. Okay, so if you look at the word crisis, some of you probably have see the Chinese character Wei Qi, the Chinese character of the word crisis comes from two words, Wei Xi and Qi Hui. So if you look at, many people tend to look at crisis, which is normal reaction, is something of danger, fearful, created a lot of anxiety. We're very frustrated, depressed, and you can have a different reaction, which is normal. And we have to acknowledge that, as a leader, when we face in time of crisis, we are also similarly have similar feelings like our team. And the question is then, how do we manage that? And I would share you some stories that I've been involved in the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009, especially during that time, and of course in COVID-19 as well. Over the last 2 months, talking to my clients globally, and I will share some of the experience that my client gone through, myself as well. But we need to also look at it as a sense of opportunity, because in every crisis there's an opportunity. And I've seen some. Let me give you a quick example. Couple of my friends who have gone into online, who has been involved into, even my son, one of my son, who is a personal fitness, is a bodybuilder offering personal coaching, and he looked at it and said, look, Dad, this is time for me to look at how can I offer my personal coaching through online, virtual, offering personal wellness or wellness advisory online, which he did not do it before, because he was doing it, face to face in the gym and so forth. So I think it's the growth mindset. So how do we look at crisis? That's very important. So we should only look at what can we do? What else can we do differently, and how can we seize those opportunities? So to start off, let me just show you a very simple, quick video. What is crisis, and how different you're going to be? In a short while after the video, it's a 2-3 minute video, then I will talk about the unprecedented crisis we are facing, what we call the Black Swan event. So let me just show you a short video.
A gas leak puts people's lives at risk. A sales rep posts something racist online. Perhaps an audit reveals financial irregularities. A crisis is any situation, large or small, internal or external, that poses a threat to public health or to the company's reputation or financial viability. Sometimes these situations become major media events. Other times, they may not even generate a ripple outside of the company itself. But that doesn't make them any less of a crisis.
Oh gosh.
What is it?
I'm getting loads of angry emails from employees who say their checks and direct deposits are wrong.
You're kidding.
I wish.
By its nature, a company crisis isn't something you can predict or necessarily prevent. But what companies can control is how they respond once a crisis hits. How you respond can either make an already bad situation worse or minimize negative consequences and facilitate a return to normal. An ideal response may even turn a crisis around, winning an organization greater trust and loyalty. Taking a few key actions can help you manage a crisis effectively. First, be ready to recognize a crisis when it occurs. Overconfidence can lead to an oversight of an important problem or issue. Infamously, Intel Corporation paid little attention to a professor's warning about a flaw in one of its Pentium chips. The result? The issue triggered a major public relations crisis, costing the company an estimated $475 million in earnings. But most crises are smaller, often internal situations that only make the media after the fact, or not at all. Either way, responding quickly and decisively is essential. Avoid focusing only on the technical aspects of the problem. Consider public perception too, and monitor what's happening in the media. Today, even a small internal crisis can hit social media and quickly get out of hand.
So some people got paid too little and others got paid too much?
That's right. This is a mess.
Well, what do you think happened?
I have no idea.
We've got to tell people something.
The longer a crisis persists, the stronger the negative impression it's likely to make, and the longer it will disrupt normal business operations. Don't wait for the sky to fall. Fast, effective responses depend on proper planning and preparation before a crisis occurs. In a crisis, people look for answers and guidance. Ensure the visibility of a strong business leader. Having someone in a position of authority who can step into the limelight positions that person as a source of information for the media and for those affected by the crisis. Then, communicate early and often with internal and external stakeholders. Communication is vital for rebuilding trust and heading off rumors and panic. And finally, prioritize trust over other concerns. In a crisis, issues like legal liability are relevant, but it's trust, whether among staff or customers, that's key to an organization's reputation and long-term survival. Taking quick, decisive action at the start of a crisis will help guide and protect everyone affected.
Okay, so let me, by the way, I just got a couple of people messaging me privately and asking why, is there a typo webinar? It's not a typo, it's a name we MIS play with web and seminar. So it's not webinar, it's webminar. So it's not a typo, so it's a deliberate attempt to play with seminar over the web. Now, if you look at the definition, by the presenter earlier, you talk about crisis can be of two types. Usually we tend to associate, of course, crisis with, of course, a major catastrophic event or a series of events that could threaten an organization survival, viability, or reputation. So typically, it could be routine. Routine crisis is something you can plan for. For example, recall of product, like Toyota, BMW. Whenever there is a product defect or even fast-moving consumer goods where they will recall products. So they have planned out a process, a carefully deliberate program on how to be able to communicate that to the stakeholders. But there's another type which is more interesting if you're going to talk about today is the novel or unanticipated, which I regard it as generally what I call the black swan event, which I'll go into that in a short while. But why do we need to be prepared for crisis? What is the implication? The risk of not preparing or mitigate these unanticipated crisis is serious. It's very dangerous, as we have seen about COVID-19. And we have seen the global financial crisis. And we have seen in some, to the lesser extent, during SARS in Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, mostly in Southeast Asia, and also back in 2001 during the what we call two events in 2001, the dot-com bust, early part of 2001 and 2000, and then of course the September 11, which is very unprecedented, the terrorist attack on September 11. Now, terrorist attack itself is common, but what makes September 11 truly a black swan event is unanticipated. The damage that it caused to the U.S. economy, the damage it caused to the travel aviation for, to airline industry for months after the event, up to a year even, and also how it has changed the way country manage their security, the national security approaches, and every country now develop a different way of securing the borders because of September 11. So when you talk about unanticipated crisis, it can overwhelm the system, as we have seen, like, for example, the COVID-19, how the healthcare system is being threatened in many countries. Because even in US, one of the most advanced economy in New York, if those of you have seen CNN 11:30 p.m. every day in Singapore, Malaysia time, or Beijing time, you can see Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, giving the press briefing and talking about the last 8 weeks, the impact that COVID-19 has on the healthcare system in the US, in New York in particular. So you can prepare to a certain extent, but you need to mitigate. And this is where I will talk about the 5 steps or 6 steps you can use in terms of how to mitigate that in future. So let me just now ask you a second audience poll. Can you tell me how many of you have you just question yes or no? Have you seen a black swan? If you say yes, where? And the next question is put in your chat box. What is a black swan event? You just describe it. What is a black swan? First of all, have you seen it? If you've seen it, where? And then what is a black swan event? Okay, let me see some. Put in your which in your chat box, please. Zoraimi said no. Yes, Zoraimi said no. Who else? Anybody else have seen? Benny says it's unexpected. Mo said no. Most of you have not seen it, which is quite. Yes, Emma say yes in a movie. Yeah, but that movie Black Swan movie is a bit different. Huh? Yeah, Netflix. So CK said you've seen in Netflix. Which, no. Okay, the Black Swan prior to 1637, when the Dutch, people always talk about swan is white, of course, swan. Prior to 1637, nobody believed there is such thing as black swan until a Dutch explorer, Willem de Vladimir, a Dutch explorer who went to Australia in Perth, Western Australia, and discovered the black swan. So what is a black swan? So if you look at the definition, the way I define a black swan is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and that has potentially severe consequences. And usually you can see that it's characterized by extreme rarity and the severe impact and the damage that it caused to the economy. So if you look at the September 11, it is a black swan event. If you look at potentially the global financial crisis is a black swan event. Some may go to the extent of looking at Donald Trump election as the US president as a black swan event. The damage actually is true. If you look today, because of the trade war, the withdrawal from the TPP and so forth, when Trump became president, he has tremendously threatened the world economy. And also the other thing about the Brexit, when David Cameron in July or July 2016 called for a referendum, he never expect that the British people wants to get out of the EU. That is a black swan event because the damage that it caused to the economy. Even today, you can see politically, economically in the Europe, it has changed the way the political dynamics, the geopolitical, of course, and also the economy in the UK and the other EU states in going to be for years to come. So let's now talk about the unprecedented crisis of COVID-19. COVID-19, as all of you know by now, the name COVID stands for corona. CO is corona, V is virus, I infectious, D disease. 19 is the year that it was discovered in Wuhan, China. The Chinese government reported to WHO on the 31st January 2019. That's when they report of this new novel virus. So for about a month or so, it was known as novel coronavirus. So the old name, I put it there, 2019-nCoV. So that's the name that you've been using prior to WHO naming COVID-19. Now, because I can spend a lot of time talking about the origin, the threat, the conspiracy, the volatility, what the damage that COVID-19 has caused in many countries. But let me focus, because of time limitation, focus on the impact, on how the crisis has impacted lives, family, individuals, economy. If you look at many countries, no country is being spared. No country. It has impacted US in a very big way, the most advanced, mature economy. Singapore has been impacted very, as you know, we used to be the gold standard in terms of the way we do contact tracing, the way we do our testing, the way we manage the containment. But due to the recent outbreak in the migrant workers dormitory and so forth, unfortunately is creating a tremendous challenge to our healthcare system, and people, I mean, everyone is observing. And this can happen also in Malaysia, in countries where there's a large number of foreign workers. And if you look at the companies, no industry, of course, the aviation, the travel and tourism has been impacted in a very great way. Because they are the first industry to be impacted because of travel restriction imposed by government worldwide, and airlines are suffering. One of the golden wing of the Lufthansa in Germany has gone under, bankrupt. Virgin Atlantic has seek government, UK government funding, but it has not been successful. They're looking for buyer. And also Virgin Australia is also gone through a very tough time. And also many other airlines, national airlines. So not only the travel and aviation, you have restaurants, you have retail impacted manufacturing. And I'll talk a little bit about supply chain and how when it started in Wuhan, the COVID-19 has disrupted the global supply chain. Because interestingly, in China, not only they are the powerhouse in terms of manufacturing, because they also will need parts from all over the world to be brought into China. And because during when the Chinese government enforced a lockdown on Wuhan on the 23rd January, many factories, Wuhan is central in China, where the transportation logistics hub of the Chinese manufacturing industry is impacted. Because of that, the global supply chain is disrupted, and you find that a lot of countries are facing challenge in terms of getting their products or things across from China to their country. By the same token, from outside China into China is being disrupted. That caused a lot of problem in terms of it affects the economic viability of many countries, and this is the biggest disruptor in my research. Looking at a lot of, even you're talking about the global financial crisis, and although many people tend to compare, they are not the same. And in my book, which is, you can see the reference there, is coming out in July, the leadership in disruptive times, and I've done research and given case study organizations, companies that countries that has been impacted tremendously, and many organizations, especially SME, are not going to survive. There will be unfortunately, there would be many SMEs going to be out of business, and this is the reality that we have to face. I off my video so that you can focus on the slide, not me. So it's very distracting with the background and so forth. I hope it's all right with you. And I will on the video when we have a dialogue. So let me now move into what is the Black Swan event. As I mentioned earlier, the COVID-19, along with the September 11, the global financial crisis, the Brexit, are all part of what we call the Black Swan event, because the enormous scale, the speed in which the volatility, if you look at how the COVID-19 spread from China to other parts of the world within 6 weeks, 50 countries, and within 8 weeks, we have nearly 150, and within 10 weeks, we have 210 countries. Today, we have about 220 countries, many countries in Africa yet to come, and that will be something that we hope it do not go to the extent. I mean, things will be better, will be managed, and the WHO are very worried because we have not seen the impact on the African states, and that is where the biggest concern. So the volatility, the uncertainty that he has caused in terms of at one stage, we're talking about 14 days of incubation period, and then goes to research shows that 28 days. And then now we know that it's asymptomatic, can go up to 14 days. And then previously it's only body-to-body contact, and it could be now even aerosol. And there's so many things, uncertain things that have been discovered, and give us a lot of anxiety, disorientation. People feel loss of control. And also a lot of uncertainty in terms of when we're going to, all these restrictions, all these, what we call the government policies of social distancing, when you're going to be lifted, when is the economy going to be open? There's a lot of debate in America right now, because when New York should open, because the economy is very severely affected. And same thing in Australia, in China, and the Wuhan, the Hubei province, just the lockdown just been lifted a week ago, and things are start coming back to normal. But again, we do not know whether there'll be a resurgence or there will be, further, what you call a second wave of infection. So the question is this: there are a lot of fear. Employees are fearful. So that's more important as a leader. So you need to understand this, and I'll talk about that. Employees are fearful. Do I still have a job? What's going to happen to my role? What's going to happen to the organization? Will I be able to bring food back to, put food on my table? We're able to continue doing what I'm doing. And because of this, leaders find it difficult to respond. They do not able to communicate. And some, while in the effort on trying to communicate and trying to share information, instead they backfire. And I'll talk about that later. So unfortunately, the VUCA, V-U-C-A, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity, the VUCA impact of the COVID-19 is so tremendous. And I'm looking at organizations that has been impacted worldwide. And what are the number one, the most important is the death. As of this morning, the Johns Hopkins University reported 3 million. We have crossed the 3 million mark. 3,041,517. So 3.04 million, and death over 211,000 deaths. Of course, the highest in America, in the US, with 988,451 confirmed cases, with 56,421 deaths. So it's it's very volatile, it spreads so quickly, and it's far much more contagious than SARS. And so we're uncertain because we don't know how long will it last. Up to today, no one. I've been reading the New Scientist, some of the journal like the Lancet Medical Journal, the New Scientist in the US, Lancet from UK. I'm reading up, and all these experts, CDC, Dr. Anthony Fauci from NIH in the US, no one can say for sure when would this end. Of course, we can hope for the vaccine to be developed as quickly as possible, so that this can help to be able to mitigate and prevent, future infection. But the question is this: another uncertainty is the evolution of the virus. It comes into different strain. A recent report in China that there are up to 36 strains. Interestingly, and it's very difficult. So this makes things very uncertain. Never before we've seen a virus like this, whether the H1N1, whether SARS, whether the bird flu, or you're talking about Ebola and so forth. This is very unprecedented and complex. It's very complex because you're talking about the virus and how the causal relationship between age. We know that a lot of people who succumb to this disease generally are those with in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, or those who have underlying disease. So yet recently, just last week, there are cases in the US where as young as 30-year-old victim or people who are infected has died. So again, it's very complex, and lastly, it's ambiguous. We don't know where's the origin. We don't know where it comes from. We do not know whether is it come from Wuhan or is it from the the Wuhan virology, or is it from the Wuhan seafood market as was originally claimed by China? We don't know, because half of the patient, the first 450 patient, as reported in Lancet in December, that they found out that nothing, this 450, half of them has never been to the seafood market, nor has there been any, met anyone in that, been there. So we don't know the origin. So the question is this now. So with all these challenges that you're going to face, question is this: what are we going to do? How are we going to, as a leader, what are you going to mitigate? How are you going to resolve it? So there's a lot of people, your team member, your stakeholders, people are very anxious. So what do we do? So this is what in my book I talk about leadership 4.0. So this leadership 4.0, of course, not only for COVID-19, is to address any crisis, any disruption, or this during time of disruption, that you need to embark on this. I'm not sure that how many of you have heard of leadership 4.0, or what do you think it is? You can just put your answer in the chat box if you have come across. So while you're doing that, I want you to now, I'll play you a short video from a futurist, Mike Walsh, to talk about the leadership in time of crisis and the leadership 4.0. What does it mean for leaders today? And what should you do now, not waiting for the COVID-19 to be over, but what do you need to do now?
As a futurist, I'm often asked how I and others failed to predict the possibility of a virus capable of transforming the world. Actually, I think my mistake was a little bit different. I underestimated how the AI-powered future that I thought was going to arrive by 2030 would and could end up being brought forward to the present. Digital transformation used to be a question of strategy. Now, for many of us, it's a case of simple and pure survival. COVID-19 is not only changing our way of life, it will usher in a radical new future of work. While many of us are experiencing the challenges of now working remotely, that is only the beginning of a much bigger transformation that will fundamentally restructure the nature of business itself. Every business will need to virtualize. We are likely to experience in the next 12 months a decade's worth of change. Not every business will make it, but those that do will never be the same again. And for leaders, now is the moment that we have to reevaluate our capabilities, upgrade our skills, and transform our mindsets. If you look back at history, pandemics have always had a profound impact on the structure of society. So many men were incapacitated by the Spanish flu of 1918 that women were forced to join the workforce, take positions of responsibility and leadership, which ultimately set the stage for universal suffrage and the right to vote. Something very similar happened in the 14th century with the Black Death that devastated most of Europe. It accelerated the use of labor-saving technologies in agriculture. It led to the wider dispersal of technical knowledge and ultimately the breakdown of the feudal system, which led to the Italian Renaissance and that incredible flowering of knowledge, art and culture. So now that we're in our own civilization scale event, will we also have a renaissance when all of this ends? Well, that'll be up to us and the decisions we make now and how we use this time. Being a future-proof organization is more than just getting through this crisis. It's about being ready for the world that awaits us on the other side. We have to reinvent how we serve our customers, clients, and communities. We have to rethink how and where we work. And most importantly, we have to reimagine our role as leaders. Now, more than ever, is a time for transformation.
So if you listen to Mike, he's talking about two things. One is what we call the reinventing your organization to face the post-COVID crisis. So we need to be prepared for the digital revolution. It's going to become more intense than before. So how do we prepare our people now to upskill, take advantage of the time to prepare them, especially those valued employees that you want to keep? The reality is this, I'm sorry to say this, the time is now to reassess that not all your, depending on your strategy going forward, not all of them that you need to be able to keep. And therefore, you need to be able to identify those that you need, which should be aligned with your strategy, who have the skills and competency to drive forward, and need to work with them to develop them further to prepare for what we call the Leadership 4.0. And to do that, I prepared this crisis in my book. I explain so what I call first best practice to leading in time of crisis. So I use the word crisis again. First is the most important in times like this, whether in disruptive time, in time of crisis, communicate. I've gone through with many clients during the GFC 2008, 2009, during the Asian financial crisis in 1998. During the SARS, and also I've involved in quite a number of organizations that's been involved during the dot-com bust and so forth. So you need leaders to need to be present, need to be able to be there for the employee, need to have empathetic listening, be purposeful. You need to be able to demonstrate a sense of purpose, a sense of passion and purpose. Second, resilience. This is where I think many leaders understand that, they know they need to do that, but the question is, when times like this hit you hard, you tend to forget about it. So you need to be calm. Let me give you a short, very quick story. I got a lot of story, but we don't have enough time. But 2 weeks ago, I got a call from one of my clients in Malaysia telling me, look, it's a very senior HR, it's the head of HR. It was telling me, look, I don't know what to do. The board they asked me to start restructuring. We need to come out with plans to to cut down 30% of my workforce. And it was very panicking. He was running around, going around, and the fact that he was going around, running around, everybody's watching him and being head of HR, it created a lot of anxiety. So I think we need to be calm. I'm not saying that you need to be authentic. It's fine, but you need to be able to demonstrate calmness. That's very important. And also need to reflect. And of course, use big data, in making decision, AI, wherever possible to be able to respond quickly to the market forces. And shift your mental model. As I say, adopt a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. What can we do differently? How can we leverage on this? What can we do to take advantage of this downtime? And be inspiring, be courageous, persevere, and build trust with your stakeholder, your team members. That's very important. And of course, set the recovery path. 3 questions I always ask. Number 1, where we were. Yes, we learned what happened in the past. It's important to learn the lesson, but not to dwell too much in the past. But what lesson can we draw? Where are we now today? Because of the past experience, and then where do you want to go? So where do you want to go? It could be very different. Your strategy could be very different. So you need to reassess and look at the people. The most important, always put people before process and technology. The biggest mistake that a lot of leaders do is to invest too much into systems, to processes, getting consultant in, and without looking at the most important aspect is the people who make it happen. So that's the crisis model that that I would recommend. And you can ask me questions later. Now, then in 2019, interestingly, I was part of a global team. There are 5 of us who were involved in a global research to look at what are the next generation trend, what we call the leadership skills, in a highly disruptive, digital-driven. One of the things that we have found that, of course, think critically is very important for the new leaders to manage the disruptive business environment, or digital-driven, what we call the 4th industrial revolution. So critical thinking is getting more and more important. So let me show you another best practice tip. So in 2019, so when I last year when I published the book, the Transforming the Next Generation of Leaders in the 4th Industrial Revolution, so I came up with this what we call LEAP approach. So when you face crisis, when you face a lot of these challenges, time of uncertainty. Number 1, as I said, you need to have liberal thinking. L stands for liberal, shift your mindset, your mental model. E, exuberant, have a sense of optimism, have a sense, but you must be grounded to reality. It's no use to talk about big plans, talk about things which are not. You need to have a sense of optimism, but at the same time grounded to reality. A, agility. As I said, you need to shift and move quickly because of the changing conditions. And lastly, a P, partnership. Look for opportunities. How can you work with people, with competitors? Not only look at across industry, within your industry, co-opetition. Learn how to leverage, on each other's strength, especially in times like this. So, and also then I go into detail what we call the Paragon 7. The Paragon 7 competency was developed by EDA, Executive Development Associate in the US, which I'm part of the organization, where we have looked at what are some of the best practice competency, looking at organizations like IBM, Procter & Gamble, Boeing, and many more. And we have studied their leadership competencies in times of crisis, in times of uncertainty, or what we call the VUCA-driven digital transformation that this organization went through. And we have found that there are 7 sets of competency that is critical. Number 1, metacognition. How do you regulate your thoughts, your emotional and social intelligence, your thinking, your mental model, as mentioned earlier, the growth mindset. Second, your attentional control. When times like this crisis, you need to be there. Even if you are managing virtually, working from home, with technology, you can be there for your team. Be there, show them that you are there for them. They need to ask questions. Don't hide, don't disappear. Be there, focus your attention to your people, especially your top talent. 3, sense making, connecting all the dots. There's so many information, big data, using AI, big data, to be able to data analytics, to be able to make sense of all this information to help you to make decisions. Use intuition, gut feeling. Sometimes you need to use gut feeling because your past experience would be useful at times, but don't let it overrule your mind. In other words, some experience, because like COVID-19 is unprecedented. There's no playbook on how to manage and how to resolve the challenges of COVID-19. So you need to keep an open mind, but also be reflective. As I said, use critical thinking. There will be a lot of complex problem solving because, as I said, it affects the survival of a lot of companies. Number 6 is about adaptability, as I mentioned, change, agility, resilience, and lastly, the communication. The most important is communication. How do you demonstrate empathetic listening? And you need to be able to find many different ways to communicate with your people. Now, to conclude, I would like to show you a short video, the best practice, one of the best practice video, and it's been acclaimed worldwide by Harvard Business School and many other Fortune magazine about the way the CEO of Marriott International, how he communicate, how does he communicate the message of hope, but grounded to reality. So I'd like to listen to Annie Sorensen from Marriott International.
Hello, Marriott Associates. I'm here to give you an update on the impact of coronavirus, or COVID-19, on our business and the steps we're taking to respond to it. Because of the profound impact COVID-19 is having on so many of us around the world, this is the most difficult video message we have ever pulled together. Our team was a bit concerned about using a video today because of my new bald look. Let me just say that my new look is exactly what was expected as a result of my medical treatments. I feel good, and my team and I are 100% focused on overcoming the common crisis we face. Now let's talk about that crisis, COVID-19. Let's start with the health challenge itself. Across our company, the number of COVID-19 infected associates is low, and I'm grateful for this. I want to acknowledge the associates who are dealing with it as a patient, a parent, family member, or friend, and the hundreds of Marriott colleagues who are at this minute quarantined. Our well wishes and thoughts are with all of you. In terms of our business, COVID-19 is like nothing we've ever seen before. For a company that's 92 years old, that's borne witness to the Great Depression, World War II, and many other economic and global crises, that's saying something. But here are the facts. COVID-19 is having a more severe and sudden financial impact on our business than 9/11 and the 2009 financial crisis combined. The worst quarter we had in those earlier crises saw a roughly 25% decline in hotel revenues on average across the globe. In this case, which began in Greater China in January, we quickly saw a 90% decline in our business in China. In the 2 months since, we have seen COVID-19 extend to the rest of the world. In most markets, our business is already running 75% below normal levels. The principal challenge we face is obvious. Governments all around the world are taking the steps to contain COVID-19. The restrictions on travel, gatherings of people, and required social distance.
Okay, so I just want to show you a very quick, if you want to have, view all these videos on leading through time of crisis, you can go to our CE, Center for Executive Education YouTube channel. There's a lot of more than 300 videos you can look at. But what, if you listen carefully to Ani's message, it's very clear. He's very focused, clearly, and shows a sense of focus, and he communicates very clearly. And you can relate the seriousness of the message. At the same time, because the video is about a bit long, because I want to give time for question and answer, but towards the end, he gives a sense of hope, inspire, but at the same time grounded to reality, telling people that, look, things are going to be different. We are going to probably lose some of them. And that's a reality. You need to speak to them honestly, the facts that things are not going to be business as usual. So this is the challenge that we face. I will end with a quote from Rudolph Giuliani before I take questions. Rudolph Giuliani, as you know, was the mayor of New York City during the September 11 attack. And Rudy Giuliani says that it's in time of crisis that good leaders emerge. And it's also in time of crisis, Joey Watt, who is the CEO of Yum in China, you probably have seen her on CNN, say in times of crisis like COVID-19 is where you see character being built. People are being tested, how people meet the challenge. So this is what is happening. Not all leaders will be able to successfully respond to it in the way that you hope, but the question is this: what are you going to do? Are you going to just stay doing the same thing, or are you going to start reinventing, thinking about how you're going to prepare for the rebound? Who are the people that you need to keep to help you to move to the next phase of your organization, especially the digital transformation? And that's going to happen immediately after COVID-19. Once the vaccine is found, once the cure is found, as early as end of this year, by next year, the focus is back to the digital transformation at the workplace. Are you ready for that? And there's going to be very, very, very much focus into that area from 2021 forward. And just to end, MIS has agreed to run a special masterclass on the 9th of June based on my research on this, the book, the 2020 book, Leading During Time of Crisis. So you can go to MIS website to register or contact Amos or any of the staff. They'll be able to give you more information about the website. So with that note, I will hand over now, on my video, I will hand over now back to, should I stop the video to Amos or Roger? Sorry, Roger.
Hi, Prof. Yeah. Okay, thanks. I think could have been more timelier during this time where I think you can see from a lot of our participants or attendees out there. I think fear is also one of the things that they are feeling right now. Okay, and when you're talking about survival right now, Prof, there are a lot of things that is really going on in the mind of the leaders, and not just the leaders, in fact, the people who the leaders are leading right now. You see, they're looking at perhaps survival, not just on the organizational level itself, but also their own livelihood. All right. So how, as a leader itself, perhaps this question is from me. And I really can find this very relevant because it's exactly what is happening in my company right now, Prof. And I can say thanks really for offering a glimpse of hope with some of your good advice that we can actually come out using some of your methods that we can actually come up with some roadmap. And that certainly give us, especially SME owners, a glimpse of hope, right, on what we can do and what we should be doing, in fact. Now, what is your advice for leaders that are facing a very dire situation right now that they have to actually go into like, pay cuts for their staff, including some no pay leaves. So what is your advice? How can leaders actually communicate the necessity of retrenchment, possibility of retrenchment to their staff itself? Other than showing empathy, what else can a leader or responsible leader should be doing during this period of time, Prof?
You see, Roger, at times like this is the trust that you have developed, the goodwill that you developed prior to COVID-19. So if you have already established that trust with the employee, they know you are very authentic. So the messaging, whatever messaging that you give them, they will most likely will accept, or if even difficult to accept, they know that you're doing your best, you're trying your best. The reality is this: no one expected the COVID-19 to be in this, going to impact us in this way. The reality, I think the government report in Singapore itself, we are looking at least about 200,000 jobs are going to be lost. That's very conservative. Jobs that are going to be expected to be, across industry. Travel tourism is going to be F&B. So what we need to do is to be upfront, be truthful. They know it because the government, the messaging is there that people have to accept. Now, unfortunately, there's very little you can do because this is where, as I said, you need to prepare your people. Because if you have prepare, upskill them for the, for other kind of job, other industry, they need to create that mindset among themselves. They need to be prepared when things like this happen. They already be prepared. Okay, look, I need to look things different, and I have to accept my boss may not, my job may not, as it is right now, in the form that it is right now, may not exist. So I have to accept the reality. There's nothing much you can do except, and I've seen that during the global financial crisis in a lot of banks. When I was with DBM, I was the MD of DBM, and I was, we're the largest outplacement, one of the largest globally, and a lot of banks are impacted, and that's the message. So for the employee, for those who are employee, and you, again, leaders who are working for organization, how do you differentiate? How do you position yourself? This is where your branding, personal branding, you need to be able to position it long ahead, not because of the crisis, then you start doing that, it's too late. So what you need to do, your message to your staff, Roger, like what you have been doing, you need to be truthful. You can try to save jobs. The government can do so much, giving job subsidy, the jobs, Singapore, Malaysia, wage credit, and so forth. There's so much you can do. But the reality, there'll be a lot of jobs are going to be lost. So you need to be upfront and tell them. But at the same time, you need to keep those people that you believe will help you to in your rebound when you need to start your phase 2.0 when this thing's over, COVID-19 is over. So you need to identify who are the people you need to keep. Those are the people you need to really develop and be focused, spending time with them. It's very important, because if not, by the time things recover, you're going to lose them to competitive. Okay. I think there are a few other questions there, Roger. Do you have any other question?
I think a good piece of advice coming from you. I think it's also about reinventing. Business is not as usual right now. So definitely, I think the area that you perhaps can reinvent your business or your organizations into some new opportunities. Like what you said, amidst crisis, there's always opportunity. Okay, let me. So at this time, I would encourage the attendees. This will be a very good time for you to post your questions on the Q&A panel itself. So that I may address to Professor Sattar. So as you can see, that's a questions that's from our attendees. Goes as, how do you see this impact on the financial? I think FS means financial sector, right?
Yes,
given that the SMEs are significantly impacted.
Yeah, I think thanks Taranjit for the question from Malaysia. I think this is the challenge that banks face. Unfortunately, the SME needs help. They are the ones that need the most help. What I'm concerned is that, of course, in Singapore and also in Malaysia, there are guarantees by the government to a certain extent to provide guarantee for viable SME. In Malaysia and Singapore, especially many parts of the world, SME is the engine of growth. the economy. As much as 80-90% of the business are SME, and a lot of banks are providing support. And unfortunately, the reality is that many of the SME are not viable, and they're going to most likely go either in the way of bankruptcy or liquidation and whatever. So the question is, a lot of banks going to be affected. That's part of the business. The banking, of course, the banks, financial services institution have their own what we call the their own mitigation, business continuity, but they're going to be very badly affected. Banks going to be very badly affected. Of course, for the larger banks, we have seen during the financial crisis, global financial crisis, is more pronounced. But now we're talking about all industry. So everyone every company is going to be affected. So it's going to be huge. Of course, it does help that the government is giving some financial, backup in terms of financial guarantee in Singapore, up to 80 to 90% of the quantum of loan. But I think more need to be done by the government and financial institution to look at not just any SME, but to look at those viable SME. That even before the COVID-19, there are viable businesses that are profitable, a valid, viable business model that you need to support them. But those are the SME that need more help, and they're the ones who have better chance of success. Whereas the rest, there's a reality. So banks are not going to finance organizations who are not able to demonstrate future growth. So I think banks, financial institutions are going to be very badly affected. We have yet to see it, because for now the government is supporting, and we're not going to see that because I think it's just still new. Less than 2 months, but in the next 6 months we're going to see a dramatic impact on SME and financial institution. This is where then you see the economy. And Singapore is going to go into recession the next quarter. We're already in technical recession. So I think banking, financial institutions are going to be very, very badly affected.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think very true. Especially SMEs in most part of the world actually contributed to almost 70% of their GDP itself. I think that can be very worrying. Okay, which brings me to the next question. What is actually the new norm or the new normal that they're referring to post COVID-19 itself, or post-pandemic 2020?
In my view, the new norm is where you need to expect the unexpected. Because you look at COVID-19, nobody expected that. We know after SARS, there will be, even Singapore government take pride that they have planned, but nobody knows that it's going to be this, the impact is so horrific. So the new norm would be expect crisis after crisis. There'll be, after COVID-19, there'll be many more pandemic, there'll be many more, disease outbreak. There will be disruption. So the new norm is the disruption in our lives, in our business. How do we prepare our business to weather the shock? How do we prepare our team to be able to be future-proof, and our organization future-proof, develop our team by having the right skills, our leaders first of all. So in my book, I talk about the transforming the next generation. So how do you equip them with the skills? I talk about the cognitive 7, the Paragon 7 cognitive readiness skills earlier, the 7 skills. These are the skills that's required in the digital transformation or in any disruptive time, especially critical thinking. Because when you have complex problem solving require critical thinking. Yesterday we heard, the facilitator talk about on the webinar about critical thinking. So that is important. One of the most important for us is beyond critical thinking. It's called cognitive readiness. So how do you combine critical thinking with emotional intelligence and strategic thinking to be able to prepare leaders for the future? So the new normal is that be prepared for more disruption. Be prepared for, you're going to face the technological revolution, going to be more impactful. I'm very sad. I'm not trying to, the reality is this, the next 2 years, the impact, because the development of the technological revolution with the advance in AI, advance in the robotics, blockchain technology is going to impact all aspects of business processes, as we have seen right now. Probably to larger extent, it is focused more on the technology, industry, telco, life science, biomedical, but soon every industry is going to be impacted. Financial services, fintech, and so forth. So the question is, are you ready for it? And this has been, it's not new, because since like 2016, when WEF talked about the fourth industrial revolution, 2016 was 4 years ago. A lot of companies are still not ready for digital, so the digital transformation, the digital revolution at the workplace. So the new normal will be the highly disrupted workplace. It's going to become more intense, more volatile, more uncertain, more complex, and more ambiguous business environment. And the question is, are you ready for it? And are your people ready for it? And starting from the CEO, the board, and the board need to be educated. The board is the most important. They do not understand, even the CEO. So HR has a very important role to help to educate the leaders. So organizations need to reassess the way they develop their leaders, their practices. This has changed regrettably, and I think I do not see much changes except a few large MNC, but a lot of smaller institutions, regional MNC are struggling, and I hope things will change after next year and so forth when things back to normal.
Okay, great. I think thanks for offering that view. I think really the more I hear, the more worrying it can be. But nevertheless, I think there are a lot that we can do, like what you've said, that is actually to pick up some skill set. Let me, we know that today, in fact, we're supposed to end around 1:30. Now, I'll take the liberty to actually extend this session, if you don't mind, Prof.
Sure.
Very, very important topic that we're touching on. In fact, a lot of people are being affected right now. So which brings me to my next questions. I think probably someone from Cambodia, I think. How can recover economic to Asia so that Cambodia about government or on Cambodia country or around Cambodia country? I think he's asking about how being a government industries, how are they able to overcome this COVID-19 or even post-COVID-19 itself?
I'm not very familiar with the Cambodian, but I will talk about generally, as I said, all industry going to be affected. Manufacturing, if you look at in China, many of the manufacturing today, about as much as 60 to 80%, have some form of digital transformation, applying AI or big data and so forth, and that or what you call the internet technology. Now the reality is this: robotics, like in manufacturing cars, in automobile, and so forth. Question is, how can you leverage on technology to make it easier, faster, simpler, cheaper to be able to deliver the product? In government is not high tech, but the process of manufacturing it, you can use technology to simplify the process, to make it faster and cheaper. So I think irrespective of whatever industry you may be in, you can be in a car, or you can be in food manufacturing, it can be in mobile phone. It doesn't really matter. So what you need to do is to ask yourself in your business, what are the part of the value chain that you can transform by leveraging on technology to make it easier, faster, cheaper, always, better, faster, cheaper. So this is something which all organizations, all industry has to re-examine. And it's been going on for some time. It's not new. Everybody start thinking about what they need to do differently. And this is where the digital, in ASEAN, for example, Cambodia, ASEAN has the ASEAN Digital Transformation Journey, the 2025, where we are looking at how to help. And Singapore is one of the country that is helping a lot of countries in the region to share the best practices in that sense. So I'm sure Cambodia, from government to government, in whatever industry, you can tap on the government support. So go to your government, go to your institution, Ministry of Trade or equivalent, ask for help, and they can tap on Singapore government support help you. Other than that, I think the other is the industry, your manufacturing association, your trade association. They would be able to put you in touch with, in Cambodia, with some of these organizations that can share you some best practices. Okay.
Okay, let me address the next question, Prof. It goes as leadership applies at top level, i.e. government. And like today, you are focusing on individual companies. But what about industry, trade associations, chamber of commerce, big MNCs? Some are visibly coming to the fore, but not enough are stepping up, particularly in the later group, okay? In 2003 SARS crisis, international endorsement campaigns helped in the rapid recovery and the business impact wasn't as severe then, mainly referring to tourism and travel. Now it's worse, affecting all sectors. So I believe, are we talking about MNCs? I think the question is the associations, the Chamber of Commerce, and things like that. So what do you think? Have they done enough? Our governments, the trade associations, and what can they be doing in terms of supporting the industries?
Well, I agree. Whatever I've discussed so far evolve around business, but the practices, the competencies, it's applicable to political leaders, to NGO, non-profit. It doesn't really matter. A trade association, chamber of commerce. Leadership is a practice. Is the ability. Leadership to me is simply defined as ability to impact and influence your follower, your stakeholders, to be able to get them to be where you want them to be. So in government, whether you are, even in chambers and all that, I think they, of course, to me, they are all trying to do their best. They have different agenda, they have different challenges, especially political leaders. Not all of them communicate in the same way. For example, the best communicators are women leaders. One is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister, the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel. These are the two leaders who I've studied and I've looked at the way they communicate, the way they inspire the people. And I think, as opposed to leaders like Donald Trump, recently, even, through his messaging, people misconstrued, or I'm not sure whether he misconstrued, but he, very dangerous messaging about, injecting oneself with disinfectant. Also the style of communication, I think the communication is one aspect. So I think the leadership communication is one aspect. I think we can learn from people like Angela Merkel and Jacinda Ardern, even Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, even Malaysia Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin. So I think the way they communicate. I think the other thing is in like non-profit organizations or chamber of commerce, their hands are tied. There's very little they can do. They're lobbying. They're lobbying organization. They will work with the government to represent the views of their members, the industry. There's so much to be done. The reality you have to accept that the government would have already their own agenda, their own, strategy in place. So there's not much you can influence. So what can you do more? I think, in my view, if I'm a member of the American Chamber, where I was, for many years, or any trade association, I would expect my leaders of this organization to spend more time understanding, spending time to communicate and listen, and therefore provide those input to the government for policymakers, for decision making, and also find ways in which you can help them to minimize costs, find ways, cost sharing, ways in which they can access information to be able to make decisions, find ways or to collaborate across the industry. So it's more of a collaboration, as I said, co-opetition, find ways, help as much as you can. But in reality, it's very little you can do, because this is the time like this where, as a government, we should need to policy both fiscal, economic, monetary and fiscal measures has to be put in place with the central bank policy, which I think all of them are doing the right thing. In my view, both our MAS in Singapore, Bank Negara in Malaysia, Central Bank Indonesia, in US, Federal Reserve Bank, all are doing what they can to be able to put measures to stimulate the economy. But this is unprecedented. Nobody planned, there's no playbook. There's nothing you can rely on. Look at the oil price today. In the future price for the next, you look at, it's gone down even at one stage below $0. I mean, you have to pay people to store oil, and this is unfortunate. They start recovering a little bit, but the reality is that there's very little we can do to influence the outcome. Yeah.
Okay. Prof, I think before we end this session, so I think there are a lot of questions coming in. So perhaps some of you would like to bring these questions on our MIS Facebook, where I think Prof will probably have the opportunity to answer to some of those questions. Prof, before you go, amidst all this, well, I wouldn't say positive news, is there something that you can offer in terms of encouragement, positivity to our attendees today? Something that perhaps there's a glimpse of hope, out there, Prof. I think over the years, I know you as someone very visionary, all right? And I did come across Bill Gates talking about this pandemic. In fact, way before that, in 2017 itself, he was predicting something like that will really create a VUCA environment. So as a visionary trainer in terms of leadership, what are the kind of positive message that you're able to provide our attendees today before I let you go?
Yeah, no, I think, Roger, myself, I'm affected. My family owned businesses, small businesses. Sometimes I have to give advice of very close friends, and the reality is this: we have to accept that this is affecting not only us. And we have to, first and foremost, take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of others. So you need to focus on yourself, your well-being. So the mental health is very important, and I am very worried. I'm talking to a lot of people, being cooped up. We in Singapore, you're going to be for 2 months. You're going to be, it affects our mental well-being, mental wellness. So I think, take care of yourself. Speak up. Talk to people, reach out. You're not alone. Take one step at a time. The reality is this: you can be. It's okay to worry. It's okay. It's okay to cry. I was telling my son. I was telling my friend. It's okay to be worried. It's okay to cry out loud. It's okay to be angry. You need to express those emotions, but at the same time, you need to be grounded to reality. You need to ask yourself, what can I do now? What do I have to do now? When this thing recovers, now's the time. Look for opportunities, as I said, to reflect. How do you position yourself post COVID-19? What training? Like in Singapore, for example, a lot of Skills Future grant. Even you're self-employed, the government is paying you to go and learn. You provide. So I think start asking yourself, what are the programs? What are the skills? And this is where everyone, from the board, CEO to all C-suite to every employee, ask yourself what you need to do to prepare for the digital transformation, because that is going to hit far much more worse. It's going to disrupt jobs. It's going to disrupt economy, because if you don't prepare, you'll be out of job. Not every one of us can be an Uber driver or Grab driver or Grab delivery. And I've seen more and more graduates in Singapore into that field. But whenever I take a Grab or Uber, or and I ask these young people, most of them with degree, with qualification. So I ask them, I encourage them, retrain. There's still hope. So have a sense of optimism. My advice is have a sense of optimism, but grounded to reality. Don't just hope and do nothing. Every day you pray and you pray and you pray to God, please help me, or whatever you believe in, but you're not doing something about it. So that is important. So be truthful to your people, to your team, be authentic, and they will accept it. And that's something beyond your control. And a lot of SME is going to be very difficult. As I said, many SME, I wouldn't be surprised as high as 30%, a lot smaller, less than 5 people, those smaller SME, they're going to be gone. There's no more jobs. So the question is, what are you going to do? Even large MNCs are going globally. They're going to curtail the workforce. So many people are going to be affected. So what are you going to do? Reskill, pick up digital literacy. That's very important, because that is the digital transformation is here to stay. That is going to transform the next 10, 15 years, because the digital transformation is expected to go beyond 2030, 2035, based on McKinsey, Deloitte, BCG, a lot of reports I've read. This is the future. So what are we going to do to prepare ourselves so that we are ready for the future? So don't give up hope. Connect, find a like-minded. Don't surround yourself with very negative people. That's my advice. While I say that is, while I mentioned earlier that it is fine to be, to sound out, frustration and all that, but don't dwell too much into that. Find people who can give you, positive vibe, or connect, seek advice, and seek help. If your company has EA, Employee Assistance Program, EAP, go and leverage on that. If not, see psychologists, or go and get help from someone who can advise you. So you're not alone. All of us are in this together, because this is going to be very tough. And I believe that if all of us help one another, support, although it's very difficult, but you have to have that positive mindset. Inshallah, God willing, we will survive if you make the right move. So that is where, as a leader, you need to inspire people. You need to be able to provide as a sense of role model, be an authentic leader. There's a time like this that where we need more authentic leaders, like Arne Sorensen we see on the video earlier from Marriott. So we need people like that. Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Thanks so much. I think, never have we actually extended our webinar for more than half an hour. Prof, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
That's exactly why MIS, we started to organize our webinar, lunchtime webinar, is to keep all of us engaged here, so that on a daily basis that you'll be able to pick up from top trainers like Professor Sattar on improving your skill set. All right. So this is, I think, during the lockdown period, that's where the community connection is most important right now. Thank you, Prof. Thanks so much. All right.
For those of you, Roger, don't mind. For those of you still online, also you can put it on the MIS Facebook. Connect me on LinkedIn, because every week I publish articles, I have videos on leadership during crisis, leadership during disruptive time. Every week from Harvard, subscribe to a lot of videos. You can connect me on LinkedIn, the easiest, LinkedIn. And also on my YouTube channel, the Center for Executive Education, CE Global. Yeah.
Thanks, Prof, for offering that channel to our attendees today. Please don't go off, right? For attendees, I think there's some announcement that we'll be making right now. Thanks, Prof. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, as you hear from Prof itself, I think this will be a very good time where we pick up skills, skill set. And in support of the stayatHome.sg itself, that's why MIS, we being a not-for-profit organization, we started to organize our lunchtime webinars, in hoping that we will get you through, we will accompany you through this tough times during the lockdown period. So do join us, right? We're not just looking at, if you can see on the screen right now, we will go beyond that, all right? In fact, we will accompany you right to the end of the lockdown period, including the circuit breaking period itself. So we will continue to organize our lunchtime webinar. So do give us your comment and do give us your support. Now, tomorrow we will be having another speakers on board, and that will be by Mr. David Shamugam. He'll be talking about COVID-19 period, your employment obligations and duties. I think it couldn't have been timelier. This is where, as an employee or employer itself, we need to know how we can maintain or balance the relationship in terms of our obligations and duty. So do join us tomorrow, same time at 12:30. Now, before we log off for today's sessions, thanks to our attendees from the AMF, the Asia Marketing Federation, for joining us today. Now, a bit of advice, right? During this period of time, in fact, like what you've heard from Professor Sattar, it will be the best time during the lockdown period to actually pick up a skill set, which almost immediately that you'll be able to utilize it once the lockdown is lifted, all right? So it's not just picking up the skill set alone, but it's also about improving or increasing your capability in terms of how you can bring your business to the next level. So if I were you, I would not miss out the training sessions that I think Prof has actually fleshed out. All right, and of course, MIS we also offered the executive development program. So please look out for our programs, which can be done online right now, especially during this period of time, to accompany you throughout the whole COVID-19 lockdown period. All right, and of course, MIS, like what I've said, we do have a business school. Now, if you do have your peers, someone that you know that needs to upgrade themselves, they can always pick up our diploma in sales and marketing and some of our other advanced diploma. And one of them, which in particular I would like to mention, is actually our advanced diploma in digital marketing. Now, like what you've heard, digital landscape is going to be different right now. Business landscape is going to go more on digital. So I think picking up an advanced diploma at this point of time, will be helpful in terms of helping you in terms of employability or learning how to run your business using digital platform. And of course, we do have other diplomas. Please look out for them in our mis.edu.sg. Okay, right. Now, we are, like what we said, MIS, we are also doing our part in terms of contributing to the community. All right, so we have worked with one or two of our vendors to help us in terms of getting the mask at a very much discounted price so that we can actually engage in a CSR project with our counterpart from the Asia Marketing Federation. In particular, the very first place that we'll be going will be Philippines in Manila. So, just share a bit of kindness, especially during this period of time where there are a lot of bad news going around. I think, so don't let it affect you, like what we said, look on the positive side, look at how you can impact others' life. So these are small little ways, like if you would like to actually join us in our mass donations, please look out for the 2 telephone numbers, the mobile numbers that's appearing on our screen right now. You can also find them after this on our Facebook. Right, thanks for joining us. And I would really love to see all of you again. Thanks for your support thus far during for our lunchtime webinar, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, all right, thank you, and be safe, stay home.
Make more time.